First of all, congratulations. My goodness, what a powerful film. Really,
Thank you.
really literally rocked my world. What was it about Tom's script that grabbed you from the beginning? I mean, this is a guy who's only written a few scripts that have been made into movies, and yet here, this is quite a titanic announcement of talent. What grabbed you?
Well, yeah. I mean, you sort of answered the question with your question because it was just a real standout script. I mean, the storytelling is really fine, and the first draft, which is the one that I read, is not that different to this. There are a few strands we took out, things we refined, sort of emphasis, but it wasn't one of those scripts where it was massively rewritten. And what I really responded to is a sort of emotional intelligence, sort of humanity in it, because normally with with spy movies there's that sense of sort of coldness and calculation which goes with the territory, but this, I thought he brought a new element in with a sense of sort of human cost of a situation like this. So yeah, I think he's a really talented storyteller, and I really enjoyed working with him, and it was a proper collaboration in terms of how we sort of adjusted as we went. He's a very talented guy.
Yeah, sure is. Can't wait to see what he does next. I mean, I know he's got the Hitman Bodyguard's wife coming out. That's a mouthful.
And I think that pays the bills, right?
Yes,
it's going to pay the bills. Interestingly, he wrote this on spec. This was just a story that he was really sort of taken with, and he's obviously got a real range in him.
Yeah, to say the least. Well, it's a subject that's been covered a lot academically. I know in college, I did one of my senior theses on the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I was surprised to hear about this story. And I thought I had heard it all. And that's one of the wonderful things about history is there's always something more to learn. I think there's always another angle or another person. When researching the events or going over the script and kind of putting this all together, what surprised you about this particular part of the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Well, I suppose in a way, the sort of unlikely nature of this sort of pretty regular middle class guy getting involved in London, getting involved in this extraordinary event. I mean, Penkovsky was a sort of extraordinary person in terms of his achievements way before this. And he was a military hero and achieved a huge amount. He was incredibly motivated, and actually up until the point that the Soviets discovered that his father was a white Russian and therefore an opponent of their regime, which they only found out about a year or so before the movie starts. He was doing really well, so he was sort of rising star in a way. But Greville was this sort of pretty regular guy, and the fact that he could find himself in the middle of this, sort of bringing back information that really ensured the world's survival was pretty amazing. And then actually, I became interested in how and why it was that we didn't know very much about it. I mean, I think people in the UK at a certain age, my sort of parents' generation, those who are still around, if you say the name Greville in the UK, they'd know who he was because it was a big news story at the time. But he was sort of phased out of the public eye because he was a bit of a pain for MI6. He didn't play by the rules. He was a civilian, and he didn't. They sort of dumped him really at the end of the whole thing, and he needed to make money. He needed to make a living. His business interests were damaged by. And he was working mostly in the Eastern Bloc, so obviously he lost all of that. So he sort of traded on being a spy, and sort of retold his story, but they weren't too keen on that. And I think that's one of the reasons why in the West the story sort of faded away, because MI6 were like, you just shut up now, we've had enough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the CIA went along with that. So yeah, it's not widely known as a result.
Yeah, it was a trip. I mean, I got really, really into the Missile Crisis with my thesis, and just never once came across this story. So as it was unfolding and I was watching it, I'm like glued, because obviously I have a personal interest in the entire situation. The key to the whole thing, obviously, is finding the right Mr. Wynn, and you can never go wrong with Benedict. This almost seems like a silly question to ask, but why was Benedict your Mr. Wynn?
Well, it was pretty quick. In fact, I was halfway through the script and thinking, oh, this would be great for Benedict. We'd worked together a few times before in various ways and places. And the last time I worked with him, I thought I've got to, keep trying to find projects for him. So, I mean, I sort of thought, well, I'll go to him and see. He's pretty busy these days. But actually, it turned out that there was a lot of sort of luck and synchronicity in the whole thing. When I first discussed it with him, he was hugely busy. And then bit by bit, various projects fell away, and suddenly he had the space. But he was taken with the script. He could see what he could do with it. And I sort of knew that the last bit of the script he'd be comfortable with, i.e., a very sort of extreme bit of the story. He sort of was that's where that's his sort of natural home, playing really extreme situations. So I sort of knew that would be the sort of not easy isn't the right word, but sort of he'd be absolutely up for going into that place. I was more concerned about the first bit of the script where he's playing someone who's quite sort of living a sort of regular life, vaguely dissatisfied, like a lot of middle-aged people are. And I thought I'd never seen him do that before, or anything like that. So I sort of was interested to see how he was going to deal with that. But no, he really took to it, got on board really quickly, and it happened very quickly. We were sort of shooting within 6 months, so it was all sort of, there was a bit of luck in there.
Wow. Well, having a front seat to him and his magic, his process, his talent. If you had to say that there was one takeaway from your experience with Benedict Cumberbatch, what would it be?
It would be trust your intuition, because he is a really intuitive actor. I mean, he does his homework, but he's sort of cerebral in his own way, but actually that's not his great strength. His great strength is allowing things to happen in the moment. And when the camera's on, he just tries things. And they're not sort of like, now I'm going to try this. It's all sort of totally just happens. And that's where he's at his best. And I noticed he did Rich, the third film on TV a few years ago. And I sort of learned quite a lot about him then, because I learned the first few takes are the best takes. Like with a lot of actors, when you start thinking, it gets in the way. And it depends. Everyone is different. It's like how your brain processes information. And some actors, they sort of work more cerebrally to get to the same place. But he is what he comes up with in the moment is extraordinary. And he always takes you by surprise. So it's like letting that happen, allowing that to happen. That's the sort of skill of it. Not giving too many notes, actually. You sort of have to get out of the way a bit, as a director.
Now, as a director, is that one of the bigger challenges? Is looking at this collective that is your ensemble and figuring how each individual person works and working within that framework?
I think that's absolutely right. The art of it is, you've obviously got a sense of where you want to go. You've got a plan, but you have to adapt that plan according to who you're dealing with. It's such a human thing. And you have to allow better things to happen if they happen. Do you know what I mean? You can't rigidly stick to a plan if there's something more interesting happening in the moment. And one of the things I really enjoy about filming is that it's so sort of do or die. You've got a little bit of time. You've got, hopefully you've done all the work to get the ingredients there, but you really have to make the right choice in the moment. But unlocking the thing within the person at that point is the art of it. And it's very imperfect. I mean, sometimes it really works, and sometimes you're struggling to find the right thing to help them. But I really believe that to be the case, and recognizing that every actor, just as every human being, sort of works differently. It's true of you. I think it's true of your cinematographer and your, the rest of your team. It's like, how do you help them to do their best work? What is it that's going to sort of help them get where they need to get to? So it's like management of any sort, really. Sort of, the best kind of managers or leaders are people, I think, that sort of unlock something in other people. And help them to do good stuff, Well,
you did a lot of very good stuff with a lot of very good people. Dominic, thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
I apologize for our initial technical difficulties, but
don't worry, it wasn't your fault. These things happen.
This was a delight. All the best to you.
Thanks so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.